Welcome and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Brian Judson. I'm the senior business broker with Best Business Brokers here in Savannah. I'm always impressed with the level of expertise around me here in Savannah, so I'm developing this series called Meet the Experts. Today, we're going to talk about opportunity zones. I have with me Joey Strength. Joey's a partner here in Hunter McLean. They've graciously allowed us their conference room, and his specialty is in real estate law, and he'll give us some of the background on the definitions of the law. And I'm also joined by Kevin Morelli. Kevin and his team over at Cabrera Capital have been extremely aggressive with developing strategies to take advantage of the legislation. So again, Joey, why don't you explain to us a little bit about what is the Opportunity Zone Act?
Great, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to join you today. The Investing in Opportunity Act is a part of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act. It is intended to incentivize investment in certain low-income communities across the country. It provides tax incentives to investors who make qualified investments in qualified opportunity funds. It's different from opportunity zones under state law, and it promises to be one of the biggest economic development programs in the country.
Fabulous. So Kevin, why don't you tell us a little more about the strategies you're employing at Cabrera Capital?
So basically, we're a fund sponsor, so we have a single asset project that we're raising capital for. The investors are able to invest capital gains into our fund, and that will allow them to get the benefit of three benefits that are related to the legislation. The first benefit is deferral of capital gains, and I like to think of that in two parts. One is time value of money, so you're able to pay that gain on December 31st, 2026. The second part is that you're able to invest your entire capital gain as opposed to having to pay the tax on that and taking, call it a 20% hit up front. So you're able to earn a return on that entire amount of gain. The second benefit is that you get a step up in basis, and you actually get two step ups in basis. The first one is after 5 years of holding your investment, and you get a 10% step up in basis, and then after holding it for an additional 2 years, you'll get an additional 5% step up in basis. So so basically you get a 15% discount on your original capital gain if you hold that investment for 7 years. And then the third benefit is that you get tax-free appreciation in the investment if you hold it for over 10 years. And so basically if you took $1 million of capital gain, after holding it for 7 years, you would only pay capital gains on $850,000 of that, and that would be paid in December of 2026. And then if you turn that capital gain into $2 million, you would pay nothing on the additional $1 million.
Wow, that's a really unique proposition. So obviously people with capital gains can benefit dramatically with different tax strategies. Who else was this intended to benefit, Joey?
So there are several possible beneficiaries of the program. It includes taxpayers, as we've discussed, people who are looking to maximize their tax strategies. It also can benefit property owners, people who own property in the zones. It can benefit real estate developers and other people and other business owners looking to raise capital, because there are these qualified opportunity funds that are being put together across the country to make investments in property and businesses in the zones. But really it's intended to benefit the communities themselves, the people who live in the zones, by incentivizing and encouraging new development, new activities, and new jobs coming into those areas.
Fabulous. Well, it's exciting to see these things happening here in Savannah, and I like to keep the focus local. I know there are zones throughout Chatham County. Can you give us some specific examples of areas close to the city that people might recognize that are in these zones?
Sure. It's important to know that the zones were designated by the governors of each state, and they should remain in place for the full 10 years of their designation. In Savannah, there are areas that are generally in East and West Savannah, and then a portion of Savannah that runs down near the college. Generally, an area west of MLK, east of East Broad, and north of President Street, and then also along Waters Avenue. and then of course the areas near the college. But it's best to see that on the map, and there are websites where you can identify these areas, and we'll make that available.
Right, and of course, like any boundary, it could be as simple as one side of the street or the other, so you need to know very specifically. Joey, when you were talking about the zones, and I was thinking through different scenarios, people investing in a zone, something new, maybe an existing business being in a zone, but what if someone had a project already proposed, already in process before this came out? Are there ways for them to still take advantage of it?
I think if you're participating or planning a project in the zone or own property in the zone, it's worth your time to consider whether you can qualify the program as a qualified opportunity zone project. There are certain rules and regulations related to how these projects work, and you would need to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Fabulous.
I would also say that the legislation was included in the 2017 Tax Act, and the regulations for the program are still being prepared. There are actually a second set of regulations that's up for comment right now, and there's a hearing in July before the Internal Revenue Service to receive comments and hopefully approve those regulations. But until the regulations are finalized, it would be important to confirm your project when the regulations are finalized.
Fabulous. Again, great reason for consulting an expert. I noticed at Cabrera Capital, you've already been involved in some brick and mortar real estate projects in Savannah, haven't you?
Yeah, we're primarily a state tax credit syndicator, so we're involved in basically all financing historic projects here in Savannah. So if you have a historic building that you're rehabbing, you receive a tax credit for rehabbing that, and we provide a means to monetize those tax credits. So in some instances, we'll come in as part of the capital stack.
Fabulous. Well, and these things have such a tipping point in the community. I know those of us who travel around Savannah, outside the historic district, we're seeing that transition, and you get one investor, two investors, and suddenly you have several investors. And so now we have a Victorian district that's attracting people in Starland, and I think the program is meeting its goals. Joey, can you tell us a little bit about where someone might find resources to both identify properties and to better understand what they can and can't do?
There are a number of good resources available. I think it's important to put together a good team if you're looking to put together a qualified opportunity zone project, or make an investment in a project that other people are putting together. I think you need really a real estate attorney, a tax advisor, an accountant, a tax attorney, a real estate and business advisor to help advise on those in those areas. So those are the types of people you want on the team. I have started a blog at www.opportunityzonelaw.com that will gather some information over time as it becomes available.
And we'll make sure that comes up on the screen later for people. You don't have to be taking notes here. Well, I really appreciate that both of you have this expertise in this area. It's exciting to see local people jumping on a program and sharing the benefits that it was intended to share. You'd mentioned time once again in that comment, and I know that some elements of the strategies have a diminishing return. I know we're trying to get this information out so that people can take full advantage of it. So can you expand a little bit on that, Kevin?
Sure. The date that you're going to have to pay your original capital gains is December 31st, 2026, or at the time of sale if it's before that. So essentially that 7-year step up in basis of 15% will basically run out after 2019 because you'll only have 6 years until December 31st, 2026. So you would only get the benefit of the 10% step up in basis and not the whole 5%. And obviously the benefit of the deferral, the time value of money deferral of capital gains diminishes the further you wait as well because you're hitting that 2026 date.
Thank you. This is why you hire smart people. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Always looking for experts to share their expertise with you. Someone once gave me some expert advice, and that was to surround myself with people who are smarter than I am. It's always been an easy task. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your coming. Thank you.